I was planning to record yesterday, but then this massive Patrick Mahomes contract story came out. And instead of rushing out to say something, I decided to kind of wait, sit on it, gather all the information. Even when all the facts came out, I was like, I'm still going to wait a little bit longer to make sure there's nothing else that's going to trickle out over time. And there were actually a lot of conflicting reports when Patrick Mahomes' contract was announced. It was kind of a bit frustrating. You know, there was stuff like, maybe it's a percentage of the salary cap, maybe this, maybe that. And so I waited, and now officially, here are the details. Patrick Mahomes has signed a 10-year contract extension. He's now under contract for the next 12 years. The contract is worth $450 million. Now, it could be up to $503 million. It's $140 million guaranteed if he gets hurt. I believe that means if he has to retire early because of an injury. And it's the biggest contract in NFL history, as well as the biggest contract in sports history. Now, first of all, it's obviously a boatload of money. We'll get into whether I think it's a good move or not. But there's that number 503 million. You keep hearing 503 million. I keep hearing that. Here's how you get there. So he was already under contract for 2 more years and $27 million. Plus you add the $450 million extension. That's a total of $477. Not to mention his team added a $25 million, well, really $25 million worth of incentives. So over the next 10, 12 years, he's got a bunch of incentives he can hit. Hitting benchmarks like going to the AFC Championship game, having certain stats and start amounts and stuff like that. So basically, if he wins and does well, he'll make even more money. And you go, okay, $27 million plus $450 plus $25, that all adds up to $503 million, just over $500 million, the potential earnings for Patrick Mahomes over the course of this career. The contract actually makes sense to me. If you want the best, you've got to pay for the best. Good things are expensive. That's kind of a reality of life. If you want the best steak, you're going to pay a premium. If you want the best television or the best seat at a concert, you pay a premium for quality. And Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. So I totally understand why he would get the biggest contract in the NFL. I don't think it's that controversial to say he's the very best. Now, people keep asking me, how does the Patrick Mahomes contract impact Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback? And I don't believe it should. I don't believe that Patrick Mahomes' money should really have any impact on Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes don't even belong in the same conversation. Patrick Mahomes is a much better quarterback. They're in different galaxies. I live in the Portland, Oregon area, and if someone up to me and said, hey, the weather in Texas is hot, I'd say, okay, that's not really relevant to anything. Patrick Mahomes' contract and Dak Prescott's contract have no relevance to each other. I just don't understand. Yeah, they play the same position, but the weather in Portland and the weather, it's both weather, whether it's Texas or Portland, Oregon, but they're not really related to each other. And I go back to, it's a different conversation. Patrick Mahomes is in a completely different galaxy than Dak Prescott as a quarterback. Now, this contract did do a couple things for the Kansas City Chiefs. Number one, this actually did not impact their salary cap in the short term. It's kind of crazy. You still got to finish out the contract he's already on. He's got 2 years left, $27 million on the deal he's already on. Plus, when the extension does eventually kick in, the really aggressively high amounts of money, the yearly, like $50 million a year, they don't kick in until later in the contract. The amounts of money get progressively larger over time. You can look at the overall number, but you have to factor in there's going to be an expected raise in salary cap in the next couple of years because the NFL is going to make new TV deals, bring in a lot more revenue to the league. And so the deal makes sense when you factor in basically inflation costs and the future of the league. Now, it is rare to see a guy get a 10-year deal. I can't remember the last time I saw an NFL player sign a deal this long. And it's a ton of money, but number one, he deserves it. And number two, again, it's very possible that by the time Pat Mahomes is paid those big amounts in a couple of years, it could seem a lot less crazy to pay a quarterback $45, $50 million. The quarterback market, for better or worse, keeps going up and up and up. It's an arms race, or maybe a better word is it's a war of escalation. But you got to consider Patrick Mahomes is only 24 years old. He's already won a Super Bowl. He's already been the league MVP. There's a bright future ahead for Patrick Mahomes, and I just think the deal's justified. The deal makes sense to me. Now, another thing the deal does is this. It gives the Chiefs stability after Andy Reid. The question is, will the Chiefs head coach Andy Reid still be there 10 years from now? I don't know that I'm confident he will be. If he retires, they're still going to have Patrick Mahomes, and people are going to want to work with him. Coaches and players. Good coaches are going to be attracted to Kansas City. Good players are going to want to be there. Especially veteran players who've already been paid. A guy on year 6 or 7 who's made a lot of money will take a pay cut to play with Patrick Mahomes and win. If you could have $11 million to play with Jared Goff and have Jared Goff throw you the ball, or $7 million to play with Pat Mahomes, I don't know. I think I'd take the quality of life. Maybe $7 million is a little less than 11, but man, you're going to get a lot better of an opportunity and a lot better of a quality of life playing with Patrick Mahomes. I think that's going to happen a lot more than anybody's giving it credit. It's going to happen a lot. People are going to say, I'm willing to take a pay cut to go play with Mahomes. And veterans who want to win, guys who still haven't won a Super Bowl, that's on their bucket list and they want that before they retire, who've already made their money, they're going to want to play in Kansas City with the best quarterback in the NFL. That's how that works. I don't know, man. You know, the structure of the contract is interesting because it makes it hard for the Chiefs to cut Patrick Mahomes. Basically, his contract guarantees 2 years in advance. It's layers to it. Every 2, it's kind of like a rolling guarantee where, you know, one example is that if he's on the roster the third day of the league year in 2021, then on that day, that third day of the league year in 2021, his 2023 contract will fully guarantee. Or later in 2027, his 2028, then next year's contract is going to fully guarantee. So basically, if you cut Patrick Mahomes, you're going to have to still pay him for years in the future. So it's going to be hard to get rid of Patrick Mahomes, for better or worse. So what that does is it protects Patrick Mahomes. And I know these are wild, massive numbers when you look at it in today's context, but try to put your brain 8 years in the future. I think they're predicting where the market's going to go. And if you do that, this actually might be a bargain a couple years down the road. Patrick Mahomes is the best of the best. Every new quarterback contract breaks records. It's not surprising to me at all that he would sign a contract, break a bunch of records, and blow people away. Honestly, I feel like we should have seen this coming. Of course, he was going to sign this crazy, massive, ridiculous contract. And actually, when you think about it a little bit deeper, it's not even that, quote, ridiculous. Another thing I keep hearing is that people say this puts more pressure on Patrick Mahomes. You know, he's now the face of the league. What do you mean now? As if suddenly he's been thrust into this position. He's now immediately the face of the league. He's been the face of the league. He's 24 years old. He loves football. He's having fun. He doesn't care what you think. There's no pressure on Patrick Mahomes. He's getting paid to do what he loves in the prime of his life. Again, I go back to this pressure narrative. Where is this coming from? Are you going to put more pressure on him? I don't think he puts more pressure on himself, and I don't think he feels more pressure. Again, he's enjoying the journey, getting paid to do what he loves, and he's a guy that has thick skin and doesn't care about this kind of stuff. I just don't buy into the narrative that this is suddenly going to add a bunch of pressure onto Patrick Mahomes. I don't buy into it. I don't think that's who he is. And it doesn't really make any sense other than to say, well, it would put a lot of pressure on me. Oh, I'm scared. When you get a big opportunity, I guess some people get nervous and get scared, and that feels like they've got to get a bunch of pressure on him. I don't know that that's what's happening here with Patrick Mahomes. I think people are assuming that, and they might apply more pressure to him, but I don't think he feels any more pressure today than he did yesterday. He's just going to live his life and now living his life and doing his job is going to make him massively more money than it was going to before. But actually, also think about this. His contract was always going to be up. At some point, you knew he was going to make more money. His mindset doesn't change. Oh, now I got the money and more pressure to me. No, he always knew this day was going to come. I think it just came at a time that nobody was expecting it to come. People are having this narrative because they didn't expect it. They're surprised. Patrick Mahomes isn't surprised, and I don't think he's feeling pressure any more today than he was 2 days ago.